Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. So obviously this was a very action-packed weekend of sporting action. Plenty of things happened, especially on Sunday, and so obviously plenty to talk about even a day after on the beginning of another new week, which should hopefully see some more good sporting action. But for now, let's quickly focus on a few things you may or may not have missed out on whilst you were asleep or catching some rest. So let's just quickly go through it. First off, the second T20I between New Zealand and India. Well, it was a thriller of a match for sure, but a lot of focus naturally went on the pitch that we were playing at in Lucknow. Now, naturally, it was a very spin-friendly pitch, and truth be told, there was a lot of spin bowling and utilized by both sides, and it didn't exactly make for didn't in some ways make for a great spectacle because it was a low-scoring thriller. But if you're thinking about T20 cricket as a format where you're going to be seeing attacking, entertaining cricket, didn't get to see too much of that yesterday, and that's something that even India skipper Hardik Pandya is in general agreement with, because after the match he did say that, in fact I'll just read out his quote to you. He's described the pitch as a shocker of a wicket. In fact, his exact words were, "To be honest, this was a shocker of a wicket. These wickets are not made for T20s. Somewhere down the line, the curator or the stadium, whichever we play T20Is in, they should make sure that they should prepare the game, or he means the pitch, previously, rather than having a couple of games played out there." Now, obviously, it is in some ways debatable as to whether or not it's always good to have some variety in conditions when you're talking about, T20I cricket too, or cricket in general, because it shouldn't just be a one-sided affair. But generally speaking, it's hard to understand or hard to disagree with what it is that Hardik is saying here, because again, there were so many spinners used. In fact, Mitchell Santner after the match did say very clearly that I was trying to find spinners from everywhere. I'll say his exact quote for you was, he's saying that I was trying to find them being spinners from everywhere. He joked saying that I was even asking Lockie being Lockie Ferguson, if he could bowl some off spin. But yeah, I think you don't often see more than 12 overs of spin out there. I think we bowled 16 or 17, so it's definitely something different. In fact, what it is that Mitchell Santner said was correct, because they had bowled about 16 overs of spin. That's a lot of spin from a country that doesn't really have that many spinners. In fact, they had the likes of they had part-time off spinners, in fact, bowling spins. So much was the purchase that they were getting at that point. So I mean, it definitely doesn't make for a great spectacle of T20I cricket, but the good news is at least India won and have kept the series alive. Now, speaking of series being kept alive, and that not really being the case, but for the series that is taking place between South Africa and England. Now, South Africa won the first three matches in the ODI series, and they won the second also, courtesy of a century from one Temba Bavuma. Now, again, you remember that Bavuma, his form in recent times has definitely come under a lot of scrutiny, because, of course, he's the white ball captain, and in T20Is, his strike rate definitely leaves a lot to be desired, but it was a very fighting, attacking knock for him. Took South Africa to a 5-wicket win and thus sealed the series for them, because they won the first match. Second match also done. Yes, it is a series at home for the South Africans, but it's always good when you get to beat the defending world champions in both formats of white ball cricket, regardless of where it is that you are playing the sport. Now, moving our focus on from the world of cricket to the world of football, there was a lot of football action this weekend that might in fact actually have flown under the radar a tad, because there was just so much other stuff going on. So I'll just quickly update you with some of the results. So Brighton and Hove Albion, who've developed a reputation as being giant killers, have in fact knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup with a 2-1 win in the fourth round. So it just means that the season has gone from bad to worse for Jurgen Klopp's men. Whether or not Liverpool can salvage anything from the season now remains to be seen. Remember, they had won 2 trophies last year. Doesn't look like they're going to be winning anything. Best they seem to be targeting at this point would be a 4th place finish. In the Serie A, which has been really interesting this year, Napoli, who are currently the runaway leaders, they beat AS Roma 2-1, and it was a massive win for them. Why? Because it means that they currently sit 13 points clear at the top of the Serie A table. So massive win for them, really, in that sense. They were helped, of course, by one certain team, that being the defending champions AC Milan. Not been having the greatest of times this year. In fact, they ended up slumping to a 5-2 loss to Sassuolo, and that leaves Milan, who of course, as I said, were defending champions, are defending champions. They are currently only in 5th position, which means they're out of the top 4, which means that right now, as things stand, they're not really qualifying for the Champions League as well. So be quite the slump for Pioli's men. Whether or not they can turn things around, that's something that remains to be seen. But if you're a Milan fan, who of course would have been happy at the fact that they actually managed to get back to the top of the summit after so many years of suffering and hard work, you'd be hoping that they can put up more of a fight than they are right now. Although as things stand, it does look like it very well could be Napoli's here. Another defending champion who are struggling a tad, Real Madrid, they ended up being held to a 0-0 draw by Real Sociedad. Now, why is that problematic? Well, because with Barcelona having won their encounter earlier, Real knew they needed a win to ensure that the gap stays to, just 3 points. In fact, now though, considering the fact that they drew the match, the gap is 5 points, and Barcelona have a nice little lead with about 20 matches played. So again, you're past the halfway point, and Barcelona really are enjoying a very good advantage as things stand. Moving our focus on now, of course, yesterday, as I said, there was a lot of sporting action, and one of the things that was in fact dominating headlines all over the world was Novak Djokovic equaling Rafael Nadal's record haul of Grand Slams. He's now also holding 22 Grand Slams, and after the match, Djokovic did say something rather interesting in terms of how it is that he reacted afterwards, because you remember he was very emotional, and that's understandable. But he did say that when I went into my box after the match, I just emotionally collapsed and I teared up there, especially with my mother and my brother when I gave them a hug. Because up to that moment, I was not allowing myself to be distracted with things off the court or whatever was happening in dealing with an injury. Things that could easily have been a big disturbance to my focus, to my game. Now, obviously, there was a lot of things that, were impacting Djokovic in that sense. Don't forget, 2022. He had, in fact, arrived in Australia, then rather famously got deported because his, vaccine exemption wasn't really holding. And then even this year, he actually had come to the tournament, was carrying a bit of an injury. And then on top of that, he also, had that controversy with his dad. His father was seen posting with supporters of Russian President Vladimir Putin. That caused a bit of a controversy. So there was a lot of things going on. Djokovic, to his credit, did not allow any of that to distract him. He went about with business as usual. 22 Grand Slams in. I don't see anyone being able to stop him actually furthering that number as things stand. Whether or not that can happen if Rafael Nadal makes a full return to fitness soon, or Carlos Alcaraz, who had won the US Open last year, is also able to make a comeback soon. That remains to be seen. But right now, Djokovic very much looking like the man to beat in the ATP Tour, which, truth be told, has been the case for quite a while. But let's see how it goes for going forward. All we can say is congrats to the man for actually equaling it, and let's see if he can actually go forward and keep winning more Grand Slams. That's it for this particular edition of the morning update from you guys. Thank you all very much for joining us again. If you enjoy our work over here at Sports Today, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And last but not least, download the SportsTech app. Thank you all for joining us. Keep tuning into us through the day. For now, though, bye-bye.